Dogs are watching a squirrel or a mole or something they really wish they could get on the other side of that fence and get. They've been intensely looking through the fence. Oh, there's a cat. That's what they're looking at. There's a cat. They are intense about it. All right, so back to the garden. So Jacob repaired my fence. We're making it work. He built me this fence over here and that side fence over there. So I told him just do repairs on this one. And he added on the end over here, we expanded. So he's done a lot of fencing for me. I'm not gonna have him replace this whole thing just yet, but it is wearing out, this pallet fence, but it still looks cool. So at this entrance, so when you come in to the spiral, you can go on the outer circle, the inner, there's where the outer on the other side comes through. So we're gonna go through the middle. I'll just show you down this way because the fence line used to be back there where you see that pole where that tomato is and there's a blackberry bush. That's where the fence line was, so it's not really cleared out to walk through because I already had some stuff planted there before I decided I was gonna do this shape. This butterfly weed volunteers. I did not plant it there. That's where it wants to grow, and I don't have the heart to kill it because it's so pretty and it's a butterfly weed. It feeds butterflies, so who am I to kill it? But I'm a little unsure about moving it because I just don't want to mess it up because it is pretty and it is purposeful. So leave it there for now. Maybe when it goes to seed, I'll try to spread the seeds and get it established somewhere more convenient, but I like it. This is my big peach tree. It did set fruit this year, but all the fruit dropped. Looks like maybe caterpillar damage. I don't know, but I think it's only 3 years old, and I was kind of surprised that it set fruit this year, so I think it just wasn't quite ready to really support fruit. So I wasn't too sad about it and didn't stress about it too much. Here's some potatoes that I threw down kind of last minute or impulsively. But I did read that the potatoes can grow in shade, so I mean they get afternoon sun. They'll get a little bit of morning sun. I think they'll get enough to grow, and again with potatoes, if I get 2 potatoes off a plant, well, that's double what I put in the ground. So oh, that one's starting to flower. So I've heard that after they flower, they'll die back. So that's good news. This one out front that probably gets the most sun is getting ready. I hilled them up twice. I planted them deep and hilled them up twice. And I don't know if they need more hilling. I'm kind of out of materials that I already had. So I'd have to go buy more straw, I guess. I don't know. So maybe I'll go buy more straw just to make sure they have, I'm doing it right. Again, this is my first year growing potatoes, so doing the best I can. Anyway, this flower, whatever it is, I'm not great at flowers, but Ada gave to me when she was 3 from her preschool as like a Mother's Day gift, and it just gets huge. I actually kind of pruned off all the outer leaves because that's where it flowered first, and these are the new flowers. So it was actually much bigger than that, and I kind of, again, just kind of trimmed it down because it was all spent on the outside circle. But I moved it this year, which is kind of, I think, why it fanned out. But it's filling the middle back in, so it looks good. There's a volunteer tomatillo that just kind of moved away from the potatoes a little bit. This pepper plant, some marigolds around it, peppers, zinnia, marigolds. Here's my basil. It actually wasn't too happy until the weather heated up, and then I actually pruned it, and now it's perking up too, starting to bush out a little bit since I got that central stalk out. But yeah, it's looking good. There's actually 2 plants. There's a smaller one. I don't know if you can see it. Sorry, I'm not good at doing stuff and filming it. There's a smaller one next to it. I guess I could separate it, but I kind of like the idea of it bushing out. I don't know. We'll see. But there's some basil there. when I get around, I have some basil that reseeded from last year, so I've got a couple more basil plants to give me some potential, so I feel secure in my basil right now. And if it dies, it'll be late enough in the season, I'll probably be able to get it on sale if I have to get a plant. So marigold, there's a nasturtium. These were some really old seeds. I started indoors kind of late, and so they haven't had much of a chance before the heat hit, but they're still alive, so there's still hope. This is a tomatillo. This was the only one that I started indoors that made it, so it's looking good. It's got flowers. I don't see any fruit set yet, but its neighbor, who's right over here, has, whoop, right there, has fruit set, and this was a volunteer. So we'll have tomatillos this year. I am right by the street, so it can get loud. Oh, there's a tomato right here. I didn't even realize that. There's another volunteer tomato. We'll see who he is and what he does. He'd be a good one to sprawl right here, though, because with this hummingbird sage, there's not really room to grow up. Anyway, so over here, coming around, I threw some bean plants here and there, kind of haphazardly. So there's some lima beans right there. We'll see. I think, pretty sure that's lima beans. We'll see what they do. My plan is when I harvest my garlic, which is almost halfway there, I will plant beans over there. Another pepper plant. Oh, there's a radish I did not see. I've been growing daikon radishes to condition my soil. This is a new bed, and it's pretty thin layer of dirt that's added to it and mulch. So below it is a lot more clay. So I planted the daikon radishes over here to break up the clay. That's I guess a couple inches down. But I'll eat the leaves in my salad. I'm still trying to finish up my lettuce, so maybe I'll eat those leaves. Maybe I'll just compost it. I've been doing a lot of chopping and dropping with those. But these are the daikon radishes seed pods, which I've been eating, but I also want to actually save seeds, so I'm not eating them all. I kind of just went through and cut out the ones that were in the path and ate those first, since they were kind of in the way. Here's some beets that are not growing super late. I direct sowed them kind of later, and so I'm not really surprised that they don't look awesome. I've already harvested the ones I started indoors, and that's just the way to go. To start indoors and let it get going, but I could eat the leaves on this. I have really bad issues with this Sephora leaf spot. I was spraying earlier in the season, but I kind of just, there's too much going on now to worry about it. But I'll get these leaves out of here so I don't make it worse. But I mean, this is a new bed and it's getting the leaf spot pretty bad. It's just what's gonna happen. But I don't really have much bulbs under here. Maybe some very small bulbs. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it, just give it a chance. But beets have not been super successful for me, except for this year, the few I started indoors first. This right here is a tomato plant. It may be the current type, because those, let's see if I can get this over here. See how small those are. But it was nearly dead from the late frost we had. I actually lost one tomato that was over here. It was one of two that I completely lost, which was fine. I have way too many tomatoes, so it was a risk I was willing to take. But this one died back pretty bad, and I let kind of a sucker grow off the main stem that had been damaged. So I don't know if you can even see where the main stem was. But it's making a recovery and setting fruit. So yeah, most things will bounce back if you give them a chance. It's my old rosemary bush. It is huge and it is ugly. So right there looks fine. If you come over here, you see where it's like falling down, and I should have pruned it and I didn't. But I still have rosemary still tastes good, smells good, even if it doesn't look good. So that's fine. I'll just deal with that. So yeah, let me turn around because there's a lot on the other side of mist. Oh, but while you're seeing it, that's some white stem celery that went to seed. You're supposed to harvest the leaves for like an herb. I didn't really do that, and it's gone to seed. So this is another one. It came in like a seed of the month club I got for birthday or Mother's Day gift, and so I'm just kind of seeing what happens with it, letting it flower, kind of letting it just do its thing, and I'll see how I can utilize it. But I'm still kind of just learning about this plant. So I'm gonna, and obviously you can see my garlic. It's hard for me to not keep going. There's my little garlic patch that's getting ready. So I'm gonna come back over this way. Sorry, twirling around past the hummingbird sage. Got another tomato plant here. More radish going to seeds, flowers, calendula, zinnias. There's some turnips that somebody gave me, and they're probably better in the fall, but I thought I'd just grow some now, just again experiment, see what they do. So there's just like 3 turnips right there. So see, this one is under the cilantro right there. So I'm leaving them. They've got some shade. They're not bolting, so I'm just gonna see what happens in this, sowing them late in the spring. This is I think this was a transplant. Oh, those flowers are not happening. I can't remember if this was a sucker or a transplant or damaged by the frost. I don't know, but it's still alive. It's still growing. The little flowers it had down here looked awful, so I just took those off. But there's my volunteer area, and my sad blueberries. We'll see what happens with them, if they'll bounce back or not. But so this is another view of the first part I walked through, just the other side. Big chamomile patch. So I kind of did what I did with the radishes, in that I just kind of cut off the whole thing where it was getting in the path, because I definitely have chamomile to spare. And I just took those inside to harvest inside when it's getting hot. It's just a lot easier, and then the kids could help me. So we had a big family party of pulling off radish pods and chamomile flowers. Yeah, I'm kind of getting tired of picking chamomile. It is beautiful. I'm just trying to decide when I'm going to actually be done. Part of the problem too is it was shading some beets I had back here. I already harvested a bunch of beets, but there's still some more growing. They're really like purpley. Like, I definitely have the leaf spot problem, but they're like purple. So I don't know. There's actually I could harvest at least one of those. That would be worth it. There's one right here trying to finish up, but anyway, the chamomile looks good. Look how pretty that is. Just very inviting. It's hard to not pick it. More tomatoes. Hello, little blossom. So this is actually the one I was looking at before. It looks like maybe I let it grow because it had a blossom on it, but this is a sucker, because here's the main stem that's trying to put out flowers too, which it does not look, some damage there. So maybe this guy's gonna take over for us. I don't know. Maybe it's a happy accident, because something's up right there. I don't know what that's happening. So I'll kind of let it play out, and if this looks like it's not going to be productive or happy or healthy, then I might just, I don't know, let this guy take over. I'll figure it out later. It's too early to tell. There's my yarrow, and my zinnias popping up. So look here, like 3 different colors right there, and then with the chamomile that makes 4. So getting happy about having some flowers. The wood sorrel throws a little yellow in there. So here there's kind of a tomato that's bushing out and staying low, which I'm kind of happy about that, because I'm out of stakes. I'll have to go find some more bamboo. Here is cilantro going to seed. I kind of trimmed it back because it was getting in the path. and I definitely have seeds to spare. I mean, definitely have more than I need, which I like to share, so that's fine, but I can sacrifice a few so I can walk through my garden. There again, just another view of what you saw before, the white currant kind of bushing out there, some zinnias, some lettuce going to seed, some mustard going to seed, some more tomatoes, some more chamomile. Again, this is the kind of forest style, a little bit of everything. Right next door, there's that white stem celery blossoming. This pepper, look at that beautiful, beautiful white blossom there. Gonna make something yummy. Did not label my peppers well either, so it'll be a pleasant surprise what each one makes. Have banana peppers, some sweet peppers, some, I'm pretty sure the red cheese snacking peppers didn't make it. I don't know. Oh, you can see the white stem on the white stem celery right there. So that's fun. Ooh, I see some crabgrass I want to pull, but I'll do that later. Some more beets over here. They were kind of shaded by the lettuce, so they're pretty small. But, I mean, they're getting something going there. Ah, I see you. Pull you up. So, there's hope. I've already harvested from this cluster, so oh gosh, this guy's putting suckers on all over the place. Alright, did I catch up? Alright, I'm caught up. But it does have some flowers near the top. So this is a volunteer I've just let go. This is another amaranth I've kind of let go. I'm trying to figure out if I really want it or not. Could definitely see it as a weed, but some amaranths are pretty. Again, this blew in from someone else's yard, so I have no idea what it's going to look like full grown, and I'm just curious, but I also want to make sure I get food. So some carrots. Right here is a carrot. You see the head a little, the top a little bit. I planted lettuce and carrots in the fall, hoping for a fall garden, get it going in the fall, and none of them germinated. And so I planted more, and none of them germinated. So I was really kind of peeved about it, because I actually bought the seeds. I didn't trade for them or anything I usually do to be cheap. But then come this spring, they popped up. So I've already harvested a few carrots. I don't have a ton, but I'm glad I have some, because I did plant a lot. So I'm glad I got some back. There's a little sprig of chamomile right here, finding its way. The nice thing about letting things go to seed, kind of grow a little bit everywhere, good insurance. Another cilantro going to seed. There's my lettuce. Hello, tall guy. Over here. Burry, stop digging. I see you. Oh, these dogs love to dig. So in this corner right here is some elephant garlic. I'm gonna come around to you. This is pretty spectacular, the big one. There's about 4 over here. Some of those look like the regular garlic, but when they sent up scapes, the scapes were straight on the elephant garlic, and on the regular garlic, they were really curly. So that kind of gave it away, which ones were the elephant garlic. So this was my grandfather's elephant garlic that he brought to my mom's house, and she gave it to me. And so I'm keeping it going. So while I'm on the subject, I'll just come around. I'll just show you how big this big one is getting. So this one I'm definitely gonna save to seed for next year. Some of the cloves off this, because it is just massive. So I'm just pulling back the dirt a little bit here. Sorry, I'm not great about doing things and videoing. But it is humongous. I can't even, I don't know if you can see how wide that is. I mean, that is just, this is just huge. I can't even get all the dirt off of it to help you appreciate just how massive that is. It's like a full softball, pretty sure. So, looks like there might be some damage, or is that just, ooh, excuse me, Mr. Worm, it just popped out of there. I just think that's where the cloves are separating. Yeah. Anyway, I'll cover him back up. He's not quite done. It's only got like 2 of his leaves dried. I like at least 4. It's like 2.5 that have died back. So he could get even bigger. So I'm gonna let him. Sorry, Mr. Worm, I disturbed you. Let me get you covered back up. Some wood swirl that grow. It's another cilantro trying to seed. Everybody's trying to grow my garden. There we go. Some good dirt back around there. There's another white stem celery, just to plant it somewhere else that's gone to seed. Didn't last too long there. Some tomatoes are transplanted. This is supposed to be a spider flower, Cleome or something. Got free from a neighbor, so we'll see what it does. It should be pretty or just fun, different. This right here is a blackberry. My blackberries are 2-year canes, so they grow the first year and then set fruit the second year. But this is along where my old fence line was, and so it was gonna grow up that old fence line. But that's not gonna happen, and it was so happy and healthy I didn't have the heart to kill it. So I just pruned it back and let it be a low bush of blackberries. And maybe I'll try to move it, maybe not. Moving raspberries and blackberries can be kind of finicky on these 2-year canes, so I've missed my window to move it. I was gonna move it, so anyway, I just pruned it and let it to kind of bush out in a low bush right here, so it's not in the way of this curve, but it gets a chance to be something, do something. It's another, I had a ton of cilantro right over here. So there's a small one flowering, big one flowering. I had a ton. I actually just used a lot of it for mulch in the path, or mulch in the bed, so I just threw that in the bed there. Cover up, because this is kind of new dirt that I put over here to build up this bed. So back around, before I got onto the elephant garlic, there is a ground cherry my neighbor shared with me, so I'm really excited about it. It'll put out the little lanterns like the tomatillos do. So I'm really excited about that. They don't really have much to see right now, just about to turn into the lantern shape from the flower. But it's doubled in size in about a week or so, and it's already setting flowers and fruit, so I don't know, maybe it'll be something that keeps going for me. But I love the lantern look of the tomatillos, so I'm excited about having the ground cherries too. And I hear they taste awesome, so I'm excited to try them. There's a little onion there. So these onions I started from seed, and they have been super slow growing, but I'm just kind of experimenting with onions, seeing what I do right, what I do wrong, what I think about it. Over here I actually planted some runner beans. There's one that kind of popped up out of the dirt. I'm gonna shove it back down. I guess when I was watering it came up. But I planted some runner beans along the base of this, and hopefully they'll twirl up the tree. So last year I had a cucumber that trellised in this tree, and so it was kind of fun to harvest cucumbers from my peach tree. And then a tomato plant that also kind of got too tall for the bamboo and kind of continued to trellis itself up this peach tree. So so kind of like that. So I planted some red noodle beans, and we'll see what happens. They were free again, so if it doesn't work, I learned something. Down here, since this is a little bit shaded, I grew some peppers, some tomatoes, of course zinnias and calentulas and marigolds. Those are everywhere. Chamomiles everywhere. Oh, I see a little fruit. This might be the banana peppers. Let me see. Look at this little fruit down here. That's so pale. I think that's the banana pepper. It's definitely not a bell pepper. Oh, banana pepper started. To pickle those for Jacob, he likes those. These are some sunflowers. I did not plant any of these. I harvested a bunch of seeds from my sunflowers last year, and then just laid what was left in the ground, and obviously I left some, or the birds dropped some, and so I have a big wall of sunflowers, which is what I kind of wanted right here. They're so tall, you can't. They're not actually opened up yet. They have the little flower heads, which you can't see from right here. There's some little ones in the elbows trying to make flowers right there. But that's fun. So anyway, more radish pods, because I did a ton of daikon radishes right here, because this is a really thin layer of compost and leaves, and so I wanted to get down deep and break up the clay. So tons of the daikon radish seeds. I have harvested a lot for leaves before it went to seed. I harvested a lot of the seeds, and there's just a ton. I just underestimated how many seeds each plant would produce. But anyway, I've got some okra down here. This is probably not ideal conditions for the okra, but it is growing. Look at that little guy right there. Ada already ate our first one. That was maybe a little bit bigger than this, and it could have gotten bigger, but she just really wanted to eat something out of the garden, so let her eat the okra. She ate it all. But I do have okra down here, and yes, it's probably too shady, but it's still growing. It just may not grow as well, but I definitely overplanted. This was one that started from seed indoors. A friend gave me. You can see how many leaves it lost before it started growing happily, so definitely learned about starting okra indoors. I had it in the basement where it was too cold and all the leaves were yellow, and then I finally moved it upstairs. I would definitely probably put it in the ground too early, but man, things are just happier in the ground versus in pots. So it survived, and it's putting out fruit now. This is one I seeded just to kind of succession plant since we have a long summer. When this okra gets too tall, I can just chop it down and I'll have this guy going. So this is just a Clemson spineless. It's a regular green okra. But I should be set on okra. There's a regular green one back there that I started indoors that's got some flowers that are turning into okra. So, so here in a few more weeks, there's another one over there. Oh, can you even see that? I put straw around it to help me see them better in all the green. There's definitely some volunteer tomatoes in there too, you can see. And a volunteer tomatillo right over there too. So I have a hard time telling my volunteers to get out. Ooh, this one's gonna actually make a seed for me soon. It's getting dark. Some more marigolds and zinnias, and a couple tomatoes right here where the sunflowers end. I just found out that sunflowers are supposed to put out a chemical that discourages growth around them. But this guy putting out plenty of flowers and growing fine. It may be kind of near the base of the sunflowers have a huge root system so that they can stand the wind when they get so tall. Look how thick this guy is. But obviously my volunteers are growing up around him, so kind of letting this guy take advantage of his neighbor. Another firefly on that tomato. So far it's not, if it's slow in the growth, that's fine. Again, I have more tomatoes than I need, so if the ones around the sunflower are smaller, that is fine. I did plant some more noodle beans on that outer edge near those sunflowers, so we'll see if they grow up that. But if they're, you know, reducing the productivity of the plants near them, I can handle it. Like I can spare it. I'd rather have a few than none. So, you know, if they're over here, if I cut the plants out, if I prune out the volunteer tomatoes, then I get 0 from those. So if I just get a few, I'll take it. Marigold City right here. Got a marigold jungle looking right there. Some zinnias. There's another red burgundy okra. More tomatoes, more peppers. Over here, it's another spot I like to kind of plant. If I have a lot of plants, I kind of like to plant them everywhere. It's the advantage of the forest style. So if it's seeds, I'll cast seeds everywhere, see where it wants to grow. These transplants, I just kind of transplanted them everywhere and see how they grow. So this one, this may be a bell pepper. That looks fatter. Can you see that? That looks a little bit fatter. So this looks like it might be one of the sweet bell peppers. I did try to grow some old red cheese bell peppers I have that make these pretty little red snacking size bell peppers. But I didn't have many, if any, actually grow. And again, I didn't label great. So again, once they set fruit, you know what they are. So it's kind of look at it as a game, a fun mystery. Look at all those tomatoes though. Look at that. This plant is happy. More coming. Love it. There's another volunteer tomatillo over there. I only had like 2 plants, one really good one and one not so good plants, but we ate them up and we threw stuff in our compost, so they're coming back. More radish seeds, more tomato, looking volunteer. There's compost, so this is where we put our food scraps, so the animals don't get into it. I was having critters get into my compost that was just on the ground, and I did not like that, so I've got this now. I got it free from the city, a composting workshop the city did. So hold on, what are these? Making sure these dogs aren't digging. Murray, are you digging? Murray? Oh, it's a brick. You're playing with the brick. There's my apple trees. Those 2 are new. Got some comfrey at the base. This was an impulse buy at Home Depot last year, so it looks big and pretty, but if you got up close, you'd see that it's got really bad rust spots on it from a fungal disease. And I even tried spraying it this year with a copper solution, which kind of delayed it, but it rains so much and it just doesn't have any natural resistance. So I don't know if that guy will be long-term or not. I hate to chop down a tree that's actually growing. He may just be shade. But these 2 have some disease resistance. Y'all aren't digging. These dogs make me nervous about digging. He's just moving around a brick. Some extra pallets I have there. They're old pallets though, but if I can find a way to use them, I will. So anyway, there's apple trees, comfrey. I've got some elderberry along the fence line. If the dogs haven't smushed it in their wrestling, you can't really see it because, yeah, but I'll have some elderberry there. I'm thinking about moving my blackberries out over there to make a patch. But that's just ideas, not gonna happen anytime soon. Let me finish up. I'm so close to done. Blackberries. Speaking of blackberries, here's the one from last year that has set fruit, and I did not prune it as aggressively as you're supposed to, so it's pretty crazy. But you can see there's some actual black ones on there. Right there, I've got bird netting on there so we can eat them. But yeah, so I had 1 stalk last year, 1 new one came up to replace it, and this year, here's the first year canes. I did prune those so that they would be smaller and more bushy, not so tall and crazy. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first year canes this time. So I really think if I can give them their own space to just totally bush out, there'll be enough. Janie, no digging. Sorry, there'll be enough to handle any bird or dog damage, and still have plenty for us. So I think there is just aggressive and prolific enough that I can put it outside the fence, because I'd like to save this area for things that cannot survive dogs and rabbits and things. So I think I already talked about that. Peppers, more volunteer tomatoes. This parsley, I had a parsley plants out front, and I just cast the seeds everywhere, and it popped up like nowhere. There's a few plants out front. I have to be fair. There's a few small parsley plants out front, but it popped up immediately right at the base of this tree. And so it grew last year in the beginning of the spring, and then it went to seed. So these are biannual too, so they'll grow the first year and flower the second year. So I guess it counted last year as its first season, and it's seeding this year. But I'm definitely seeing it grow better in the shade, and it loved growing at the base of this tree. It just went nuts. So I'm gonna let it reseed itself, and let it grow where it wants to grow, because the happier the plant, the bigger it is, the more I get to eat. So I'm looking forward to this winter when I can prune some of these branches off. I had read it's better to prune it in the winter when it's dormant to reduce the chance of disease, but then I also read someone else talk about pruning it during the time it's alive so it can heal itself better. So I'm actually going to try to look up science on that now that I have two different philosophies that both sound reasonable. I'm going to see if there's been any research done on the best time to prune these. Actual research, not just advice, because yeah, I love letting the plant use its own natural abilities to be happy and healthy if I can work in conjunction with the plant. But just find out what it likes best. Again, I could experiment, but trees, it feels riskier because it's, I don't know, quite a big setback if I set back. But I think I made it through. This is just a shady spot. I sit with the kids sometimes. Rylan sat and read in that the other day. But that is the rest of from the inner. So this is where the trail ends. I guess I could go around here just so you can see. This is where the spiral ends. I would like to actually make room for a sitting area. Kind of jungly right here. And so this is the end of the spiral. So ideally I follow the path to take my time in and out and really enjoy the journey of the garden. But I am guilty of just stepping through these plants to get out if I'm in a hurry. Because realistically, if the kids need me, someone's hurt, someone's fighting, I need to get out of the garden quick. Oh, you can see Ada's little watering can, the elephant right there. And the Kroger bags look kind of trashy because they're trash, but I had those when I had a ton of lettuce. And so when people would walk by or even ask me about my garden, I could quickly grab a bag and give them something to take with them with all the people walking with the quarantine right now. So anyway, I should probably get that out of there until I have an overabundance again to share to make it look nicer. But anyway, that's my whole garden. There's Ada's seat. Ada wanted a seat last year, and so this year when I redid it, I kind of stacked up some bricks to make her a seat. It's a nice place to sit and pick chamomile. But there's her seat. So I would like to have a lot more design I want to do as far as like figuring out height, and I don't know, I feel like color is going pretty well with just putting flowers everywhere. But I would like to think more about height and planting, access, but also creating spaces, so nice little sitting spaces. I want to really actually maybe try to make room for a sitting space for me on days like this where it just feels really good outside. Sitting places in the garden to read or to pray or meditate, but I am by the street, so it's not as private. So I'm really thinking for actually like kind of solitude. I might kind of try to develop this space over here by the tree, because there's honeysuckle and privet and stuff growing up along the fence already for privacy on that side. The shed is over here. That doghouse is going to move to their spot, but the shed is right there for some privacy. And so I just would need to kind of plant, L-shaped plants around that tree to have some shade and some privacy there. So that might be the kind of secluded spot I develop. But that is for next year. Definitely this year we're just trying to keep up with the garden now. Keep the fence up. So I don't know how to end, but that's pretty much the end of this garden space. So here, I'll end on colorful spot.